whole life revolves around what is it? The whole life revolves around this law, the law of karma. Karma means action. So the law of karma means the law of action. And how much ever it is being discussed, still it remains very elusive only. Still it remains very, very confusing. And any number of times this question keeps coming up again and again and again. The question is, sin is not in the action, it is in the reaction that it produces. Sin is not in the action, it is in the reaction that it produces. While doing an action, if you are not agitated, you are not committing a sin. For philosophically, sin means mental agitations. You do an action, that action bounces back and produces mental agitations. That mental agitations is called sin. This is what we have been hearing for. This we have heard any number of times. And the entire confusion is because of this. For the question is, if a terrorist is taking a gun and shooting, he is not agitated. Why? While doing that action. So according to this definition, he is not committing a sin. Correct? According to this definition, he is not committing a sin. A person eating meat is not being mentally agitated. Therefore, according to this definition, he is not committing sin. Therefore, what is this definition talking about? What is this definition talking about? So coincidental that yesterday and today, almost 6 different persons asked me the same question. One after the other, they said, we want to talk. They are from the other part of the world. So I said, call me from, one person I said call from 10 to 11, another person I said call from 11 to 12. Thinking that they are going to ask something. The same question. I go to the morning class, same. There, YSR is asking the same question. Yesterday, Kala is asking the same question. I said, why everyone is asking the same question? For it is in relation to the sin. Why I thought was, I said something which they said very good, very convincing, sir. After a long time, we heard something convincing. I said, Namari Sarak Nariya Vachirikran. I said, lots I have like this. Why are you getting worried? But weekly once we will release. Everything one day release. What will I do after that? It's not in the action. It's in the reaction that it produces. When you say it's not in the action, a misunderstanding arises automatically. Is all action, any action is allowed. When you say sin is not in the action, from that statement you will come to a conclusion. What is the conclusion? Any action is allowed, permitted, sinless. Therefore, a person can do anything as long as he is not mentally agitated, he is not committing a sin. Even an atheist will talk slightly moral than this. Correct? Looks like the most immoral thing that you can teach. Are you able to follow? Looks like this is the most immoral thing that you can teach to a human being. For even an atheist will say, even an atheist will have something moral to talk. In the name of religion, in the name of philosophy, in the name of Dharma, Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma, the highest knowledge, you hear that, you can conclude completely. You hear a statement and you can wrongly conclude. You can wrongly conclude. Our Ganesh's sister retired. She is the retired Chief Secretary of Karnataka government, IAS officer. Every 3 weeks I keep meeting her. She will come there. I keep meeting her. Yeah, nice stories she will say. I will also give some nice stories. Very, very brilliant lady. Like imagine someone passing IAS exam, some lady passing 35 years back. 35 years back she passed IAS. And she retired as a Chief Secretary rank. Because of her being non-Kannadiga, she was denied the Chief Secretary post. But she retired as, even today, official status is that rank. And always it happens. And every year there will be 3 fellows who will carry the same rank, but one alone can be made. So she was also that. How you misread? How you miscalculate? The same thing you see, the same thing you hear, and you can conclude wrongly. He's saying she was posted after the training from Mussoorie. She was posted near Belgaum. Her first posting, deputy collector near Belgaum. Belgaum, even today it's a village only. Imagine 40 years how it would have been. So she was posted there as a deputy collector and no place to stay. Somewhere she found a place to stay, and then next day her boss came to drop her at the hotel where she is staying. So she said, where are you staying? That lady said, I am staying in Venu's Paradise. Venu's Paradise. The boss said, there is no such thing called Venu's Paradise in this street where you are going. There is no such thing called Venu's Paradise. Going up and down, and then she finally said, this is the place. Yeah. She told me this. Otherwise I would not have known this at all. That lady told me this. He said, the boss told her, what are you reading? Are you blind or what? Write it, Venus. Right?
Oh, Venus. Okay.
That's all. Venus Paradise. Venus Paradise. She read it as Venus Paradise. Even today she laughs at it. Even today, first class she came, something I was talking about perception. How you see something and misunderstand this, and I was talking about it. She got so impressed in that thing. You should ask Ganesh. Even today, even yesterday night, we were laughing in the dining table because she was there. She was there. Yeah. Anything she will say, anything she will talk, Ganesh will have the final word. Ama Venus ye Venus nu padchavdane ni. Has become that. Poor thing. Innocently, she had that openness to confess something. From that day onwards, he goes on. Now we know why the state is like this, why the country is like that. Why? Because Venus, you read it as? She's saying, you come from the same town, from the same Thiruvarur town we are from. She's saying, sir, நீங்களே சொல்லுங்க sir. Full Thiruvarurலே படிச்சிட்டு Thiruvarurலேந்து went to Mussoorie. From Musaru to Belgaum, a deputy collector, you don't even know what is happening. Adala vandu Venus. You follow? You can hear it and conclude wrongly. You can hear it and conclude wrongly. What is the hearing? What do you hear? Sin is not in the action, but in the reaction. Therefore, the first misunderstanding is all actions are
sinless.
Any action is all right. As long as you are not mentally agitated, you can do anything and everything. You follow? Wrong conclusion. You hear the statement, instead of understanding that statement properly, you will come to a wrong conclusion. In the recording, I have to send it also. You follow? Yes, Shankar. I'll go slowly, step by step.
No. This is something that reminds me of when I was studying in UC, in the English class, one of the students studying IoT as IDR.
Correct.
The doctor, the tutor immediately admonished him saying that he's an idiot.
That's why you are that. That's why you are that. They see something, but then how it is, the conclusions are wrongly arrived at. You follow? The first thing is, sin is not in the action, it is in the reaction. Means, yes.
Okay. The reaction of the person who did that or observer? The
reaction
of the person
on the karta, the doer.
The doer.
The reaction
In
on the
case,
doer.
Yeah, if somebody commits this one, he would pledge his conscience to the
Yes.
one more person.
Correct.
Then he can show that he is,
Correct.
some higher cause I am doing it.
Yes. He is the reaction in the karta, the doer. Not on the onlooker. Not on the onlooker. The doer. Sin is in the reaction, not in the action. The entire principle, this entire explanation is one part of the total principle, the complete principle, which is the law of karma. So unless the law of karmas are not understood in full, this cannot be understood. For this cannot be taken in isolation. It has to be seen as the part of the complete law, total law. The law is what is known as the law of karma, action. The moment we talk about an action, karma, there is a karta. The moment we talk about karma, there is a karta. A karta doing something turns into karma. Who's the karta? The doer. The doer is a complex phenomenon. Law of karma is trying to explain the complexity of life. For the doer, the karta is a complex phenomenon. What is the complexity of the karta, the doer? The complexity of the doer, the individual. Doer means the individual. Karta means the individual. What is the complexity of the individual? The complexity of the individual is this. He is product, producer at the same time. Product in relation to the past, producer in relation to the future. Product in relation to the past, producer in relation to the future, product, combination of product, producer in the present. The product aspect is of your past. The producer aspect is in relation to the future. In the present, who is that karta, who is that individual? What is every individual? The product producer at the product producer at the same time. Product belongs to the past, producer belongs to the future. Who belongs to the present? The combination product producer.
In that small examples.
Like present. In the present, let us say, I have just learned how to pronounce English alphabets. I am still an illiterate in relation to, from the past, I bring in a lot of illiteracy in the present. In relation to the future, I can end up writing commentaries on Shakespeare. Producer, I can end up writing commentaries on Shakespeare, which is the producer part. The part that I come in today, my present status is, I am neither illiterate nor illiterate, nor an expert. Are you able to follow? So then who are you? Then who's every individual? A combination of both. That's where the first complexity is. The first complexity of human life is this, where in relation to the past and in relation to the future. You follow what I am saying? The product producer at the same time. Number one. Second thing in relation to karma is, there is a doing and then the consequences of doing. The second thing in relation to action is, there is the doing and then there is the consequences of doing. Doing belongs to the present. The consequences belongs to the future. The doing is of the present. The consequences is of the future. You follow what I am saying? The moment we talk about past, present and future, we are bringing in the very subtle, confusing factor of life, which is what is known as time. The moment we bring in past and future, what are we talking about? We are talking about time. Even though, now carefully follow the complexity of time. We say, be in the present. Be in the present. What does being in the present means? Even before you know what the present is, it's gone.
Yes.
It's gone. Past. Therefore, for all practical purposes, you are only experiencing the past only. There's no such thing called present at all. But then, everyone knows that there is a thing called present also. Are you able to follow? Are you able to follow the complexity? Even though theoretically on paper, you can never prove the present. On paper, you can never prove the present. You can never experience the presence, the present. And yet, the truth is, there is a thing called present. That present is what is known as the current. That present can be 1 minute, 1 week, 1 day, 1 year, 1 janma, maybe 100 janmas also, we don't know. But there is a thing called the past, there is a thing called the future. The past and the future is, which is so visible to the mind, is intricately connected by the invisible present. That's why you are able to understand the past and future very clearly. The present is, you know that there is something called present is there. How do you know that there is something called present is there? That's why the producer aspect. The producer aspect is able to do something because there is a thing called present. Otherwise, a human being remains only a. Otherwise, the human being will remain only a product only. He can never be a producer. The fact that he is a producer means there is something called present, but it is so subtle, it's so invisible. That's about it. You can't see it. You can't see it, but you can only understand it, experience it. You know it. Like the child comes and says, that's all. What will the father say? What will the mother say? You can't give up like that. For something can be done. Immediate, instantaneously. Are you able to follow? So there is that. So karma, action, doer, inevitably brings in a thing called the time. Action is performed in that factor of time. Are you able to follow? Action is performed in time. That which is in relation to the past is called the product. That in future it is in relation to the producer. In the present it is product producer at the same time. You follow? First thing is the product producer, the time factor. Okay? Now comes the question. A person is eating meat. And not agitated at all. In relation to what? In time factor. In time factor, it is in relation to the present. So in the present, he is not committing any sin. So, but then the moment you ask a penetrative question, what is a penetrating question that you can ask? What about his future? What about his tomorrow? What about his tomorrow? The moment you bring in tomorrow, you are asking, you have started to investigate what? The consequences of your action. You follow? One is in relation to the doing. As you are doing, you are not agitated. It means you are not committing a sin. The misunderstanding from this is you are absolved of
you are absolved of the sin that you are committing.
You are absolved of the consequences.
Even the consequences.
A man misunderstands it like that. It's a misunderstanding. You have to face the
Consequences.
You have to face the consequences. You cannot escape the consequence. You follow what I am saying? Law of karma is complete because it talks about the past, which is fait accompli, which you can't do anything about, which you have to, you are the product. But in relation to the future, you can change. How you can change? By recognizing the consequences of what you are. By recognizing the consequences, by understanding the consequences of your action, you stop doing. But what about what I did? But what about what I did in the past? Do prayaschitta. Do prayaschitta. Pay the price. That's the prayaschitta. Pay the price. For you cannot escape. You cannot escape. You follow? Very, very. It's very simple. At the same time, it's simple and complicated at the same time. Are you a sinner? Am I a sinner? Is that person a sinner? Because you are taking an unit action and asking this question. The individual being the complex personality, you cannot take out unit action and ask this. For if you take an unit action and ask, invariably the conclusions that you come to will be wrong only. Carefully follow now. Where the alternatives are not there, you will face the consequences. There is no consequences. This is the law of karma. That's why intellect is needed. Carefully follow, which is what I wanted to say. I was telling it to all the 5. Where alternatives don't exist, you are absolved of the consequences. Like in the case of an animal, the alternative doesn't exist. What is the alternative? The tiger or the lion doesn't have an alternative. It has to eat. It has to kill and eat only. The alternative doesn't exist. There is no consequences. As far as a human being is concerned, there are always that's the function of the intellect. That's the job of the intellect. That's why we say if someone does something innocuously, we ask, it means what? What are you actually asking? You should have thought about all this before. No. What are you actually saying?
You should have considered the alternative.
You should have considered the alternative. That's the function of the intellect. You follow? I was giving them this example. They were so... Just came out. That's all. I didn't prepare nothing. Even today I don't prepare for any class. Or I am preparing all the time for the classes only. I don't sit and prepare. I don't specifically for talk I don't prepare. But then 24/7 I am only in that framework all the time. In the stories you find Vasishtha and others eating meat. Vasishtha and others eating meat. And they are supposed to be and they are supposed to be not ordinary Brahmins, the high class Brahmins, and they were eating meat. And that eating meat didn't take away their religiosity. Didn't take it away. You follow? Why? You have to consider that background. At that background, in their era, the alternative didn't exist. Where 9 months of the year you can't cultivate anything. You can't grow anything. What can you do? You can starve to death. You can starve to death. Now, that is starving oneself to death. Committing suicide is greater sin than... You follow what I am saying? You follow? It is greater? It is greater problem than that. A time came when alternatives was available. That's the time Buddha and Mahavira came into the picture and they said, you people are doing wrong. Are you able to follow? In the time of Buddha and Mahavira, the alternatives was available. When the alternative was available, why are you still doing that? That's why they revolted against this practice. For even when the alternative was available, mechanically they were mechanically doing or indulging. Maybe a combination of both only. You follow? No, it is said in the Vedas. It's a justification. The argument was, it was said in the Vedas that you have to eat. You can eat meat. Buddha said, your Vedas has to be changed. Your Vedas has to be burnt. Personally, I will take the side of Buddha only. In my personal opinion, I will take his side only. When the alternative is available, if you are still doing it, means either you are indulging or mechanical. So you will pay the price for what you will pay the price for? You will pay the price for being you will pay the price for indulgence. Correct. You are not paying the price for killing the animal. You are paying the price for indulgence. For the same killing will not produce consequence to other. You follow what I am saying? See, the modern day Bangladesh in the past is part of Bengal. Even today it's the same story, no? 6 months in a year it's flooded. 6 months in a year it's flooded. If Brahmaputra swells, Bengal is finished. If Ganges swells, Bengal is finished. For it comes from both sides. Even today, the Brahmins of Calcutta will not eat meat, but they will eat fish. The Mangalore Brahmins will not eat meat, but they will eat fish. For the same story in Mangalore also. When the alternatives don't exist, you don't. When the alternatives don't exist, that's why there valiye lama pantan, sir. We plead helplessness based on. Are you able to follow?
Yes.
Are you able to follow now? We plead helplessness based on one factor, that where valiye la sir na enna pandrathu. Are you able to follow? Wrong reasoning. I'll come to that. But then you should see how it is being built up. So it is the alternatives. When the alternative is available, or the human being's primary job is to explore the alternative before doing an action. No one does that exploration. They simply get into action because of indulgence, desires. And then they come and say, there was no alternative existing. The law of karma demands, the life insists that have you penetrated enough to say that alternatives didn't exist at all. So it means that much penetrating capacity. When all this should be done? Before doing an action. A person without this knowledge, when he gets into, are you okay? You should do all this, what they call as due diligence, no? Due diligence. They think it's a very big discovery of thinking. Due diligence. What does due diligence means? Have you considered all the alternatives? Have you penetrated deep enough before taking a step? For having taken a step, you can't do anything. For you are bound by that. That's why action produces bandha. Action causes bondage. Neither you can be inactive. For inaction is death. So action causes bondage, which is death. Inaction is death. What a human being can do in life? What can you do in life? This is the dilemma. This is the dilemma of a human being's life. And how does one? Correct? I am addressing your issue also. Adukku dhaan ivlo story. Seriya? The whole discussion is, before doing the action, do due diligence, which is a function of the intellect. We have seen how intellect is available at various stages of an action. Intellect available before the action, intellect available during, intellect available somewhere at the end of the action, intellect available after the action only. The vast majority, it doesn't come after that also, for they continue to do the same thing. So action, the play of intellect before the action, the play of intellect during the action, the play of intellect after the action. After the action is penetrating and understanding the consequences. Penetrating and understanding the consequences, and then saying, yes, this is what I will be facing. Do I want to face this? Am I ready to face this? Do it. This is what I will be facing. Is this what I want to face? This is what I want to do. No one does this. And they'll get into action. When they are facing the consequences, which is the karma, which is of their own doing, which is of their own making, since they cannot connect it like this, they unnecessarily bring in external factors as a cause for their situation. Vedanta says you don't have a proper auditor auditing your accounts. That's why you are getting into this problem. If you bring in a proper auditor, that proper auditor is what they kept as Chitragupta. You know that, no? You know, Yama has a proper accountant. No one can match Chitragupta. That's why in the prayer they say they pray to Yama and they pray to Chitragupta also. When they do that Sandhya prayers, morning and evening, even today they do that. Even today, the Brahmins pray to Yama and they pray to Chitragupta also. Yana, he is your accountant. Our than chartered accountant of life. He is auditing he is the perfect. Clear? Chitraguptaya vai namo om namayiti. Yamaya dharmarajaya mrityave shantakaya cha. They pray to Yama first. Correct. Chitraguptaya vai namo om namayiti. They pray to Yama and they pray to Chitragupta. I still remember. Why pray to Chitragupta? I asked. He said, hey, our the auditor. Auditor, you have to be in the good books of the auditor. Chitragupta maintains the accounts. You go to him, he will audit your accounts of life very, very clearly, and he will tell you whatsoever you are going through is only because of your own making. Your own making. Your own making means when? In the past. Your own making. Immediately when it says your own making, when? The question should come. When? In the past. And you have no knowledge of your past. You have very limited knowledge of your past. Very limited knowledge of your future too. You have very limited knowledge of your past and you have very limited knowledge of your future. Look at the complexity. The product producer has absolutely no knowledge about. You are a product, the past, and you have very, very little knowledge of your past. That's how naturally you are designed. For you should not remember everything of your past. If you remember everything of your past, you can't live. You can't live today. You follow? Similarly, you can't know everything about the future. Future too. For if you penetrate and understand, you can see the future very clearly. If you penetrate and understand, the future of every human being is so clear. What is the future of every human being? Graveyard is the future. Where is the problem? Graveyard is the future. That's why they say death is the only certainty in the future. But that you don't see it at all. But ipdilam pesna, there will not be any motivation to live life. No sir, what will happen to life? Suddenly you will get concerned about living and life and all. If you are so concerned about, so now they have brought in a concern. The job is done. They have brought in a concern about your living and life. It's not death is going to do anything. Have a powerful intellect, that which can penetrate and understand. For you to develop the intellect, that's the help of the Shastras. All the enlightened masters, what are they doing to us? Helping us in strengthening our intellect, buddhi. That's all. You follow what I am saying? So, at any point of time in relation to the past, of which you know very little. So, Chitragupta will say, what you are doing now is because of your past, and if you go and ask him exactly what I did like that, exactly what I did like this, he will say, don't worry about that. Don't account on one-to-one basis. For the complexity of life is such that it's so intricate that from what angle it is going to come back and hit you can never be said. That's why the story of Yadava clan's annihilation talks about it very clearly. I have said this story many a times, and I am saying the same story again. How the entire Yadava clan got annihilated. Durvasa came to visit Krishna. When you are with the divine, people think that they are free of everything. They can do anything. Just as I can think, the fact that I am wearing this dress and talking on this, I can do anything. For I am doing divine work already. You follow what I am saying? So the Yadavas thought that they are with Krishna. So since they are with Krishna, divine is protecting them. They can do whatever they want. Life says you will be treated as an individual only. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to whom you are associating with, whom you are living with, whom you are married to, whom you have produced or who has produced you. All this is of no consequence. Mahatma Gandhi's father wasn't a Mahatma. None of Mahatma's children came anywhere near Mahatma, no? Correct? You follow what I am saying? Rama's father is nowhere near Rama. And Rama also had sons. And they are nowhere near Rama either. So you can be produced by Rama himself. You can be produced by Krishna himself. But still that is of no. Are you able to understand this? So scary, yeah? If you understand this, you know how life is treating you. How life is treating you so individually. But you don't see it like that. We unnecessarily intricate ourselves with, we unnecessarily go and connect ourselves with others. Are you able to follow? Durvasa came to visit Krishna. The story is they dressed up a man like a pregnant lady, went to Durvasa, and the question that is asked to him is, boy or girl? And you know who started this prank? Krishna's son started this prank. Who started this? Krishna's son started this prank. That's the story. You read the Bhagavatam, you will be so... I get so thrilled because with what authenticity they documented everything. They didn't say, enemy son Rakshasa son did that. Who did this? Krishna's son played a prank. Durvasa said, this man will give birth to a pounding stick, and that pounding stick will destroy your entire Yadava clan. Consequence. Did an action, the consequence. They went to Balrama. Look at that. When they want to hide something, they will go to Balrama. After getting to a problem where nothing can be sorted out, they will come to Krishna. See that? Look at that, no? Even today, people do the same thing. They went to Balrama. Balrama said, very simple, burn the stick. And he gave birth to a pounding stick. Pounding stick na Tamil la? Olakai. He gave birth to that. Went. Balrama, what do we do? Burn it up and go to the ocean, go to the middle of the ocean and dissolve it. They did that, they dissolved it, came back, the consequences are wiped out. Action is done, consequence came, but using their intelligence they have wiped out the consequence, so they thought. But the law of karma is there, no? It's a fantastic law it is. It starts, it's there. 36 years later, Krishna went to Balrama and said, tomorrow is the party. Are you going to join the party or not? Balrama said, I can't handle this, for it's too much for me to handle. So he goes and drowns himself in the ocean and he dies. That's the story. Balrama goes and drowns. Jal Samadhi. Suicide he committed. He said, I can't handle what you are going to do, Krishna. For Krishna said, tomorrow is the party. Wherever you see a party, know that the party culture was started by Krishna. Blame money prayojaname illa. When people are going to a party, who started that party culture? So you have to blame Krishna only for that. He started this. Let's go to the beach for a party. Party na enna? Bhajana party, liquor. They took the liquor and they started drinking. An intoxicated man, unconscious man cannot do anything right in life. An intoxicated man, an unconscious man cannot do anything right in life. And most of the human beings are intoxicated, unconscious. Intoxicated, unconscious. And when you are intoxicated, what will you do? They start arguing, they start fighting about something that happened in the past, the war. In that heat of argument, they started arguing. They started fighting, they started arguing. As the argument started, when intoxication has reached a point, Krishna started walking backwards. When he started walking backwards, he was keeping his bow and arrow ready. This is the only place you see Krishna with bow and arrow. He was keeping his bow and arrow ready. If anyone escapes from that, he is ready to shoot them down. He is ready to shoot them down. Can you imagine him standing with bow and? See, otherwise you see him with flute or Sudarshan Chakra only. You will never see him with bow and arrow. Here he is waiting. If anyone escapes, ready to shoot them down with bow and arrow. Intoxication happened. All words are exchanged in intoxicated, unconscious state. That's why you fall in love, they say. For words are exchanged in that unconscious state. That's why you can't take the words of a drunken man seriously. You can't take the words of those who fall in love seriously. Why? For they don't know. They don't know. That's why the adult always says, இதெல்லாம் அப்படிதான் இருக்கும் கொஞ்ச நாள்ல சரியா போயிடுமா? They say that no, and it is true. For the law of life is this, and an intoxicated person, an unconscious man cannot do anything. Cannot do anything right. They can't do anything right. What happened? Don't forget that story. In the heat of the moment, one man slapped the other. In that heat of the argument, one person, drunken fellow, what will they do? Slapped the other. As he slapped the other, there was a blade of grass stuck to his hand. Because the beach party full of grass. The beach party, they went full of, maybe Srinivasan வீட்டு lawn மாதிரி போல இருக்குது. Nicely he is keeping. அந்த மாதிரி. Full of that lawn. They were sitting and drinking and fighting. Hit one blade of grass stuck to the hand and that blade at the point of contact. See this. Not before that, not after that. At the point of contact, that blade of grass turned into a pounding stick and broke the skull, broke the head into two. So, seeing this, another fellow hit. Bhagavatam says, in a matter of muhurta, the entire Yadava clan got destroyed, annihilated. Now, Krishna being a Yadava, he is also bound by the same curse. He also has to die by the same curse. That's the law. You can't. He also can't escape. After this entire thing got over, he was so fatigued. He was so tired, fatigued, looking at this whole thing. Out of fatigue, tiredness, he climbed a tree and rested. He rested on the tree. He climbed a tree and he was resting. Hunter, from the distance, thinking it to be the bird, an animal, shot. The arrow pierced his leg, dropped dead. The great Avatara Purusha. What a way to, is this the way to die? What a way to die. And humanity is not going to see another Krishna, or he has come and gone for ever. What a way to die. The same law functioned there also. How? No blade of grass there. How? The story goes back. The story rewinds back. When they burnt that pounding stake, one piece of metal didn't get burnt. When they went and dissolved it, one piece of metal didn't get burnt. When they put it in the ocean, that piece of metal went inside the water. A fish, thinking it to be a thing, it swallowed that. And that fish was caught by a fisherman, and it was sold in the market. And Arrowsmith's wife went to the market to buy fish. And Arrowsmith's wife went to the market to buy fish. She bought that fish. Came home. As she was cleaning and cutting, she saw the metal piece. Why this unnecessary metal piece? She threw it. Arrowsmith, walking into the house, saw that metal piece and thought, nice piece of metal which can be used for the tip of an arrow. So he used that metal and made an arrow. And that arrow he sold it in the market. The hunter's head came and bought that entire bunch of arrows. And a set of arrows went to this particular hunter. And when he shot Krishna from that bunch of arrows, he took that particular arrow and shot him down. You understand? Look at the winding way it comes back. You need that much penetrating capacity to understand this. Otherwise, it's impossible to understand. You follow? Are you okay with this? In the case of a story, we know there was a perfect auditor sitting and auditing and showing it. In your life, maybe in my life also, I don't know. Very scary, that is. Very scary it is. For a person who has understood, it's very scary. For a person who doesn't understand, it is blissfully ignorant. எல்லாம் அப்புறம் பார்த்துக்கலாம் சார், முதல்ல பண்ணுங்க. இதெல்லாம் சும்மா வேதாந்த பேசி பேசி இதெல்லாம் பண்ணக்கூடாது. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டூ, கான்சிக்வன்சஸ் வில் சி. வரும்போது பார்த்துக்கலாமா, என்னத்தை பார்த்துப்பாங்களோ தெரியல. யூ ஃபாலோ? That ashes, when they dissolved the ashes, a portion of ashes didn't get dissolved in the water. It just got washed away to the shore and turned into the manure for the grass. So each and every blade of grass is a pounding stick waiting for the Yadava clan to come and sit there and break their that action that they did in that long past is waiting to come back. It doesn't matter where you are sitting and doing. It doesn't matter who is your savior. It doesn't matter who is your son. Are you able to follow? If you understand it like this, life is so individualistic. Because of this individualistic thing only there is freedom possible. Otherwise freedom is not possible at all. Based on this law only we are able to say, Vedanta is able to say that freedom is possible for every human being. Based on what? Based on this law. Are you able to follow? Remember, Swamiji always gives this example of a boy who smashes the legs of the centipede. Children in the past they used to do. Nowadays we don't get to see centipedes. We don't get to see centipedes. We don't get to see trees, nest, nothing. 30 years, 40 years back, the bunch of school boys walking back from school sees a nest, and they took a challenge among themselves. Who will bring it down? They take stones and start throwing at the nest. Invariably 2-3 stones, it's the nest, and the whole thing falls down. 3-4 innocent little birds are dead, and the boys are happily whistling away. In the present, they are not committing any sin. That doesn't mean the blade of grass is disappeared.
Forever.
Not the blade of glass. That pounding stick is gone forever. How can you even connect that pounding stick can turn into a blade of grass? You can't even connect. That's Chitragupta. He is auditing it so well that he will account it properly. He knows the connection. You follow? He gives an example of the boy centipede smashing the legs of that centipede. When he is going to write his final year MBBS exams, the ton of bricks fell on his leg and smashed his legs. Innocent boy, what he did to deserve that? Innocent mother, what she did to deserve that? Innocent father, what that father has done to go through this trauma? They will come and ask. You follow? The law of karma will put up at this point it looks heartless. At this point the law looks heartless, for it will turn back and say it's your own making. You follow what I am saying? It's your own making. You follow? How do you absolve yourself of this? Weigh the pros and cons. Weigh the alternatives. To weigh the pros and cons, you should be in the mode of constant inquiry, constant questioning. Then only you will be able to do it. Are you able to follow? When will you be? Suddenly you can't wake up in the morning and ask, what will be the? You cannot. One day suddenly it will not come. Unless you are in that constant inquiry mode. That constant inquiry mode is what is known as manana, reflection. That's why in one sentence he says, intellect is developed by questioning. He says, intellect is developed by questioning. You will go back thinking, what to question? Nothing question பண்ணனே இருந்தா என்ன சார் ஆவறது? Nothing will happen. Your intellect will become strong. That's all. You follow what I am saying? Imagine, understand this. One son, one child in opulence. Another child born on the roadside. There are fellows, their whole lifetime they are living on platform. How are they producing children? God only knows. It's a mystery. Where they mate only, it's a mystery. Where they mate, where is the thing? And they are also producing children. There is a child that is being born to me also. There is a child that is being born to the most richest family, the most opulent family. As far as the children is concerned, none of them, no child has done anything wrong to deserve this. So life appears unequal. Are you able to follow? Life appears unequal. For it looks like it has favored some, mediocre to some, and painful to vast majority. And the category தான் சார் நான் உதவாங்கிற கேட்டகரியில் உட்காந்துருக்கிறோம், receiving the beatings all the time. You follow? You see life like, you see life as a highly unequal factors, and yet the law of life, which is the law of karma, says it is not unequal, it is not unequal. You do not know how to connect. You do not know how to connect the two. You do not know how to connect. One way of proving is inference. One way, there are various ways in which it proofs exist. One way of proof is direct perception. You see something, it's proof. The seeing is the proof. Now, there are certain things in life that cannot be proved through seeing, but based on factors, you infer. Like black hole. Has anyone ever seen a black hole? Don't say yes, sir. If any one single human being has seen a black hole, we will not be sitting here to talk about it. For we all would have been sucked by that. It's an inference. Are you able to follow? But we take it as true. For one way of proof is through inference. One way of proving something is through direct perception. The law of karma is a law based on inference, not on direct perception. Inference means it can be debated upon. Carefully follow. Inference means it can be debated upon. That's why there is endless debate. Endless, you can go on debating. For anything that is inferred can be debated. இவரை பார்த்தா நல்ல ஒரு மாதிரி தான் இருக்குது. இன்ஃபரன்ஸ், இட் கேன் பி டிபேட்டட். For internally you can go on debating. No, but இதெல்லாம் வச்சுனே இவரு நல்லவர்னு சொல்ல முடியாதே. இல்ல பட் இதெல்லாம் இருந்தா நெருப்பு இல்லாம now inference can be debated upon. You follow what I am saying? That's why all this is debated so much. Why? For it is not, one is perception, another is inference. This man is knowledgeable. Let us say, where is knowledge stored? In the brain, they say. Knowledge is stored in the brain. You take the most advanced CT scan of an Einstein's brain and see. It will not show E equals mc square in that. Will it show? It will not show. So it means it is there, but you can only understand it. You can't perceive it. You can't see it, but you can understand. Are you able to follow? Love. Has anyone seen love? Love per se you can't see. And yet we all know that what love is, and we also know what lack of love is also. We know what love is, and we also know what is lack of love, and yet we have not seen love. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You follow? Are you able to follow? This law of karma is called a law based on one of the methods of proving. One of the methods of proving is inference. What is the inference? The auditing. What is the auditing? The inequality of life. Carefully connect now. The inequality of life. What is the inequality of life? One born to a sinner, another born to the richest family, another born to a saint. What if that innocent, ignorant, pure, clean slate children did?
To deserve that.
More and more adjectives you use, more and more life looks unequal. Poor, innocent, clean slate children are. The adjective that you have used has already confused you so much that your conclusion is bound to be wrong only. You follow what I am saying? Are you able to follow? Therefore, it is as you are doing an action, one is the state of mind while doing the action. Another is the consequences of the action. Why we say action per se doesn't mean anything? The last. Are you able to follow? Are you okay till now? It's very simple. The way that I am putting it, it's very, you can't miss anything. And yet we say action per se doesn't mean anything. Action per se is neither good nor bad. Why? Go to the basic formula. Karma, action, is done by the karta. An action has two components. Action has two components. The two components of action is, one is skill, another is attitude. Again I repeat, action has two fundamental components. One is the skill behind an action, another is the attitude that you bring into the action. Are you able to follow? The whole world pays attention to the skill part of an action, for attitude is taken for granted. Vedanta says, before paying attention to the skill, pay attention to the attitude part, for it is the attitude that is going to decide your mental state. Carefully follow. Your mental state is decided by the attitude, not by the skill. Your skill doesn't decide your mental state is decided by the attitude that you bring into the action. Okay? What are the three attitudes that you bring into action? Selfish, unselfish, selfless. You can be skillful selfishly. Correct?
Yes.
You can be a very skillful man, but can be utterly selfish. Correct, Shankar. Utterly selfish. So, the skill doesn't mean anything. As far as the karma is concerned, as far as the mental state is concerned, Vedanta is not saying skill is not important. Vedanta is saying, before acquiring the skill, pay attention to the attitude. When you pay attention to the attitude and when you pay attention to the skill, this combination is the knowledge of life and living. That's why we say Vedanta is the knowledge of life and living. On what basis we say Vedanta is the knowledge of life and living? It has segregated action into the two fundamental components. What are the two? One is the skill, another is the attitude. A great warrior, Rama. Equally great warrior, Ravana. Both in terms of skill, both are in terms of skill, both are equal. But both are not equal in terms of what? Attitude. Both are equal in terms of skill. Life rewards you not according to your skill. The reward of life is through the attitude that you bring into the skill. Again I repeat, it's not based on the skill. Even if skill produces a material benefit, the wrong attitude that you have gotten into it will not allow you to enjoy it. That's what is happening today. With all the comforts, the human being is not for the reward of life is not through the skill. The reward of life is through the skill only in a job interview. Yeah. But then the enjoyment of action, the enjoyment of the fruit of action doesn't come through the skill. It comes through the attitude. What is the right attitude that you can bring into action? What right attitude if you bring into the action that you will be absolved of all sins? Yajna, correct. That attitude of yajna karma. Yajna means idam na mama. Are you able to follow?
Selfish, selfless and...
Selfish, unselfish, selfless.
Oh, unselfish, can you give an example?
Unselfish, selfish is I do this action thinking in terms of what I will get out of it.
Even at the cost of others.
Yes. Bread and butter. My bread and butter is in this. Just as one man goes and sells something to earn his bread and butter, I might come and teach on Vedanta to earn my bread and butter. You follow? From outside you will never know the difference. Selfish attitude. What I get. Unselfish is the genuine attitude with which I come to help you. Not that you are asking for help. Not that you are in need of my help. Carefully follow the difference. But I walk in with the attitude of how I can be of help to the other. This is unselfish attitude. The third is, who am I even to think that I can help you? For God didn't create the world thinking that I am going to come and save. So, why bring in unnecessary prefixes and suffixes into action? This is what you know. This is what you can do. Do it to the best of ability and get out.
Here the self refers to the BMI, is it?
Yes, body, mind, intellect. Not that. Selfish, unselfish and selfless. The attitude that you bring in determines determines the quality of your mind while doing. The attitude that you bring takes care of the consequences also. When you bring in the right attitude, while doing, you are not agitated. That's why he says, kill them, Arjuna, with yajna bhavana. Kill all these people in front of you with the attitude of doing yajna. That's why it's very difficult to consider the advice of Krishna. It's very difficult. So he's saying, he didn't say change your action. He says, do the action of killing only. You will be absolved of your sins only when you bring in the right attitude. For you change your action, nothing is going to change. You follow? Changing the action is not going to change anything in you. For you are going to remain the...
Your past action also influences your present attitude, right?
Yes. That is where...
You are helpless to that extent.
Yes. To that extent you are helpless. So in relation to that you are bound. But at the same time, you also know that you are not that bound. So it looks like that's why I started by saying a human being is that complex phenomena. You can't take a stance and say he is totally free of the past. Neither you can take the stance and say he is fully bound by the past. For he is bound and free at the same time. Are you able to follow? He is bound and free at the same time. He is bound. At the same time, he is free also. Are you able to follow? Everything will get over. Abdinna, it's not that I go to school, learn ABCD, come out, and I can write a commentary on Shakespeare. It doesn't work that way also. Learn. Yesterday I was saying, the topic was Vedanta procures material prosperity. I said, for whom? For you it is depreciation only. Maybe my bank balance is increasing, material prosperity for me. For you it is only a loss. So what does it mean? It brings in the right, it divides action into two. Dividing action into the most basic component. What are the two essential fundamental basic components of action? The skill and the attitude. That's why when you die, they say the skill will be gone. But what carries forward? The attitude. You able to follow? They audit it so well, they have audited it so well, they are able to see what is carried forward, what is not carried forward. The skill part of it is not carried forward. What is carried forward? The attitude part. That's why you find one child is happily giving, smiling. Another child is frowning, crying. Another child is stealing. One child is giving, another child is frowning, crying, the third child is stealing. There seems to be inequality of life. But yet, the truth is, it's not unequal. There is a perfect cause and effect. So, if you have to remember Chitragupta. That's why they put it in the form of a story. See, first they explained it as a law. Since it was so difficult to understand it as a law, they put it in the form of a story. And I got so interested in Chitragupta long back because I used to do that prayer morning, afternoon and night. Even if I come at 10 o'clock, I will shower, do the prayer, then only I'll eat. இப்போதான் I have become irreligious. அப்போல்லாம் I was very religious then. I used to wonder why the praying to Yama is for morning, noon and night. You have to pray to Yama and you have to pray to Chitragupta. Wonderful is that prayer. Yeah. Yamaya Dharmarajaya Mrityave Shantakaya Cha Vaivasvataya Kalaya. Wonderful is that prayer. Chitraguptaya Vai Vrigodaraya Chitraya Vrigodaraya Correct. Wonderful is that prayer. Chitraguptaya Vai Namo Chitraguptaya Vai Namaha Chitraguptaya Vai Nama Om Nama Iti. Praying to Yama is okay. Why pray to his secretary also? No, அவர் தான் அதில் முக்கியமான ஆள். Why? அவர் தான் புக் கீப்பிங், அவர் தான் கணக்கெல்லாம், he is maintaining the, and his accounts doesn't go wrong at all. Established, it is established. You follow? One is it to stay in the form of a story, another is to say it in the form of a law. இல்லையா? நம்மள மாதிரி கதா காலட்சேபம் பண்ணுறதுக்கு எல்லாம் ஓகே இல்லையா? ஸ்டோரி இஸ் ஆல்சோ ஓகே, லா இஸ் ஆல்சோ ஓகே, ஐ சே எவ்ரி திங் புட்டு ஏன்னா இது வந்து சிவிட அவியல் மாதிரி இது இல்லையா? திஸ் கிளாஸ் இஸ் லைக் அன் அவியல் கிளாஸ். யூ ஃபாலோ? சுவாமிஜி ஒன்லி ஃபிலாசபி, வாரியார் ஒன்லி ஸ்டோரி. இது வந்து அவியல். Yeah, little bit of this, little bit of that. That's why people say, fantastic sir. Inna fantastic. எல்லாத்தையும் துளி துளி கொடுக்கறதுனால you will feel very fantastic. Shankar, fantasticலாம் இல்லை. Yes.
Two please sir. Sir, anything which acquire, we will lose it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is the case.
Yes.
Today, is attitude original nature, or I bring forth the right attitude?
Yes.
Then when I die, it should also go. No?
Correct. Anything which is the product of action will be lost the moment you stop acting.
Okay.
Now, the intensity with which you acquire a skill, that is in relation to the equipment.
Okay.
The skill that you acquire is in relation to the body and the equipment. The attitude is of the subtle.
Yes.
Attitude is of the subtle. Therefore, the subtle travels. Attitude belongs to the subtle. Skill is entirely dependent upon the physical.
Yes.
That's why upon death they say the skill will be lost, but the attitude
will be carried forward.
The attitude carries forward. For attitude is not
Attitude means
the amount of evolution. To what extent you have evolved. Selfish means least evolved. Unselfish means to some extent evolved. Selfless means more evolved. The attitude determines your level of
Evolution.
growth.
that's represented by the subtle intellect.
Yes. That subtlety keeps, that subtle travels. Skill is part of an action. So that goes away.
Lot of this inspiring stories. No reference book at all you are mentioning.
Yes.
Please do so.
Yes.
The third.
Yes.
In the Krishna's case,
Yes.
when see, all other people are indulging it.
Yes.
But Krishna was not a party to that.
Correct.
How the curse to him when entire community is to be
Yes.
annihilated, how come he has not done anything?
That embodiment of Krishna is also that Yadava clan. That embodiment of that physical form of Krishna, that embodiment of Krishna has a connection to that, Yadava clan, which cannot be taken away. He can mentally detach himself from that and say, I have nothing to do with it.
And the individuality doesn't play.
But as far as the personality of Krishna is concerned, he is
A plan of a
of that Yadava
member.
member only. For he has assumed the role of safeguarding them, protecting them. Since he has taken that, he is also bound by the consequences. It's very clear. For he has taken that role. He didn't leave them and say, I am an Avaduta. And an Avaduta relieves himself of all this and he becomes a loner, a wanderer. There he is not. There he will not be bound. Krishna didn't do that. He was he lived as a part of the clan. He chose to do so. Now what made him to choose, we really don't know. We can't even discuss that. But the truth is, he chose to be there. The fact that he chose that, he is also bound by, for choice implies consequence also. For choice implies consequence also. Okay? Now, the stories, the references, I pick it up from various sources. அப்புறம் நடப்புற நம்மளோட ஒரிஜினல் கிரியேட்டிவிட்டிலாம் வேறு வரும். If you want to read it in English, Kamala Subramanian is a very average. Yes, Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Mahabharata in English. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has this publication. Author Kamala
Subramanian.
Yes, Kamala Subramanian. To some extent, she has faithfully reproduced it. But because of the longevity of the book and all that, she would have edited so many things. She has edited so many things. But the link, to some extent, she has maintained the link. In the modern day thing, amongst the authors that I know of, or otherwise you have to read the scriptures, you have to go to the original text and all that, which is not possible. So, to a large extent, these three. She has written Ramayana, she has written Mahabharata, and she has written Srimad Bhagavatam also. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan edition, published by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. The author is Kamala Subramanian. You have it? Show him that. இப்போ இல்லை, அப்புறமா பார்த்தோன்னே வாங்கி வச்சுருக்கோம். அப்படியே எடுத்துன்னு போயிட போகிறாரு. இல்லை, ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு ரெஃபரன்ஸு காமிச்சிட்டு வாங்கி வச்சுருக்கோம். ஓகே சங்கர்? Yes sir.
You said attitude carried over to next one.
Yes.
It means a good karma.
Yes. Yes.
So another thing.
Yes.
You said you prayed to Yama and
Yes.
Chitragupta.
Yes.
Chitragupta is very bad. Whatever good things do, you rate it.
Yes.
Whatever bad, you rate it.
Correct.
So,
He is an impartial. Yes.
So any amount of prayer, you will not do any benefit.
He will not do benefit.
You will not show anything.
You pray to him not for benefit. When you pray to him, you are reminded someone is
watching.
When you are praying, it's a reminder. What is that? Someone is watching. Someone is watching, nale,
The present action.
I will be little bit careful. Fact that I can do anything and everything because I feel no one is watching me. But then there is, remember that story, no? The king is dying. He had 3 sons. And he wanted to choose the right king. How to choose the right king? He gave birds to all the 3 and said, kill this bird where no one sees you. Kill this bird where no one sees you. The first one went into the room, closed to the doors, curtain lam potachina, the whole thing is black and dark. It's not black and dark. Finished. Came with the dead bird. Father said, wait. The second son. 3 weeks later, he came. No, why? I went to the remote corner, remote place where no one has seen, no one has lived. I went there, killed it. We said, wait. The third son came 1 year later. Bird is very healthy. He is turned thin. He is turned emaciated. The bird is very healthy. The father asked, what happened? He said, I cannot fulfill your condition. I cannot fulfill your condition. The king asked, why? For you said no one should know. 2 will know that, he said. And that 2 will always remain. Who's the two? I am doing. How can I not know? Second is, whenever I take the bird is looking at me. He says, you are fit to be a king. For the king needs the sensitivity, he said. The king needs the sensitivity. You are fit to be the king, and he was crowned as the king. Are you able to follow? Chitragupta is like that. Wonderful. Wonderful is this story. In the story, again, copyright is original. Look at that. He said, two knows it. One is, I am doing it. No, how will I? How will I? That's why ignorance makes you unconscious. And you do things in unconsciously. Ignorance makes you unconscious. Ignorance makes you intoxicated. Therefore, you do actions out of intoxication. You do actions out of being unconscious. And yet, you pay the price for being ignorant. Okay? Is it okay? Anything, ask me again next week. Seriya?